Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. How are you? Thanks, Julian. Same. What about you? So far, so good?
Uh, the audio is low.
Check here. Better now? Yes? Are you listening to me? Better in this moment. Omar?
Yes, okay.
Okay,
That's
all right. So, welcome one more time to this English session. And the idea is that today we'll have the possibility to concentrate on a new chapter. This is chapter number 2, and is talking to English speakers, which is something very interesting because the idea is that we're going to have an emphasis not on listening as we did in the previous unit, but on the speaking part. That's why we'll start with a very interesting topic, which is genetic engineering. Yes? Firstly, I just want to know how much do you know about genetic engineering?
it's, the article is interesting, but I think that the evolution science benefits the humanity uh, and the life on the planet, but all developments have their risk.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, yes, I believe that genetic engineering and other fields related to development and production of energy must not be for exclusive use, nor for free use.
Okay, all right. So Omar is mentioned about the possible risks that genetic engineering has. Julian proposed the ethical dilemma. All right. What about the others? What do you think about genetic engineering? How much do you know about it? No, not so much. Now, in order to have a better explanation about what genetic engineering is, I want to start with this video because obviously I don't know a lot about it. So I have to look for more information, and I found it very interesting and illustrative. So my recommendation is try to pay attention to the explanation given in this video about the topic, just in order to have more elements about our discussion today. Here we have.
There are a lot of labs in biology that are super memorable, as I've mentioned before, but I remember this one where we had these bacteria and we gave the bacteria a gene from a different organism. It came from a jellyfish, specifically a bioluminescent jellyfish. Its gene that was taken up by the bacteria gave the bacteria the ability to have this glowing appearance if put under the UV light, like the jellyfish. How wild is that? It was a neat lab to do once I became a teacher, too. This is actually a very popular lab in advanced biology courses, but naturally, everyone kept wanting to know, is it possible for bacteria to be given a human gene, not just one from a jellyfish? The answer to this class question is yes. And that's when I got to talk about how insulin is produced in the lab. Insulin is a hormone that all humans need. It is made by the pancreas. The hormone insulin helps make sure that cells get the glucose they need. But type 1 diabetes is a condition where the pancreas doesn't make enough insulin, and therefore the individual must take insulin, usually in the form of an injection. So how is insulin produced in the lab setting so that those with type 1 diabetes will have an adequate amount of insulin to inject? Well, one current and common way today is by using bacteria in a lab. These bacteria in a lab can be given the human gene for insulin, and then the bacteria produce the insulin. Lots of benefits on that. Bacteria are relatively easy to grow, multiply quickly, don't take up a ton of space. Both the jellyfish and insulin scenarios are examples of transformation, which is the process where a cell, commonly bacteria, can take up DNA from their environment and use that DNA. Transformation can occur in nature, but these transformations were specifically performed using genes of interest from other organisms. These two examples fall under the topic of our video, genetic engineering. Genetic engineering can be very generally defined as changing an organism's genotype using biotechnology tools or techniques. Let's focus more on the whole bacteria producing insulin example to illustrate how this was done. Focusing first on some basics that we know, here is a human cell. Like most cells in your body, it contains a nucleus. And like most body cells, that nucleus contains the organism's entire DNA code. With some exceptions, each body cell you have contains all of your DNA. If you recall, genes are made of DNA, and so there is a gene that codes for making the protein insulin in most of your body cells. While this gene could be removed from a cell's DNA, the gene for insulin can also be synthesized in a lab. This insulin gene can be inserted into a bacterial plasmid. A plasmid is like an extra set of genes, in addition to the bacterial chromosome, that bacteria can use. Plasmids tend to be in a circular shape. Plasmids are common in bacteria. You can also find them in yeast cells. But to get specific DNA into the plasmid, you have to make space for that. For that, you can use restriction enzymes. Restriction enzymes are enzymes that cut in specific spots, like teeny tiny scissors, and you can cut a specific spot in the plasmid so you can add in that human insulin gene. Ligase, you remember ligase from our DNA replication video, can be used to help seal it into place. This is now considered recombinant DNA because it contains not only the plasmid DNA, but also the DNA of interest, the gene for producing insulin. The recombinant DNA is made up of DNA from different sources. In order to encourage a bacterium to pick up the plasmid in transformation, certain chemicals and temperature changes may be used. Once it picks up the plasmid, when the bacterium reproduces by splitting, the resulting cells will both inherit the plasmid, and then their daughter cells will inherit it, and theirs. You get the picture. In this way, the plasmid continues to be produced over and over. The bacteria can use the human insulin gene to produce human insulin, and the insulin can be purified in a lab setting to be used for humans. Let's talk about some vocab in our example. In this example of genetic engineering, the bacteria were genetically modified from recombinant DNA. You can consider the bacteria to be transgenic. Any organism or microorganism that has genetic material from some other organism is considered transgenic. The plasmid was the vector in the situation. A vector can be thought of as a vehicle for getting the recombinant DNA into the organism. Plasmids are a common vector, but plasmids aren't the only vectors in genetic engineering. Viruses are another example. If a virus's own genetic material is removed and a gene of interest instead is placed inside, the virus can then be permitted to attach to target cells to deliver that gene of interest. When it attaches to a target cell, it inserts the gene of interest. Viruses in this way are another delivery system, and viruses can target any kind of living cell. Bacteria, fungi, plants, animals, including humans. You can find examples of viruses in our description. Sometimes if the plasmid or viral vector is just not ideal for delivering DNA into a cell, well, you have more options. There's microinjection. A special kind of micropipette can inject the gene of interest through the cytoplasm of a cell and into the nucleus. For example, if the target was a fertilized mouse egg cell. Or, and I didn't learn about this until more recently, gene guns. Yes, really, a gene gun can shoot particles, gold particles for example, that are coated with DNA. Really helpful in cases where you have thick cell walls to get through, like a plant cell. Genetic engineering techniques and tools continue to develop and change. So when we were talking about restriction enzymes and we mentioned they cut in specific spots, they have certain sites that they recognize, and anytime that site exists, they cut. Restriction enzymes are actually part of the natural defense system bacteria have against bacteriophages. They can chop up bacteriophage DNA. But what if you had a way to customize the exact place you want to cut in the DNA? Perhaps you've heard about CRISPR? This gene editing tool allows for the editing of DNA using a special kind of nuclease called Cas9. Recall that nucleases like restriction enzymes and Cas9 can cut DNA. And like restriction enzymes, the CRISPR-Cas9 system is also part of the natural defense system bacteria have against bacteriophages. But in CRISPR, by using a specific guide RNA that can be designed in the lab, the Cas9 can be guided with a specific guide RNA to cut at points around a specific target gene. And by doing that, one can do gene editing by removing a selected target gene. And if desired, a new gene could be inserted in its place. CRISPR has been used in plants and animals, including clinical trials of humans. So now that we've covered some ways that genetic engineering can be done, we want to address how can genetic engineering be useful? There are tons and tons of examples of uses for genetic engineering, so just picking a few here. First, there's use in the medical field. Producing insulin for those that cannot is an example we mentioned. And currently, pharmaceutical companies also use genetic engineering to make clotting factors, human growth hormone, and more. There's genetic engineering in agriculture. For example, genetically engineered crops that might better resist insect pests, or herbicides, or drought. There's genetic engineering research being done for developing plants that could remove pollutants from the air or soil. In an example with animals, there's work being done in genetic engineering to develop chickens that are resistant to avian influenza, otherwise known as bird flu. Genetically engineered mice are often used in research to better understand certain gene functions. However, with these examples we've outlined and more, it's important to mention there are also ethical considerations for genetic engineering that must be examined and considered. Depending on the type of genetic engineering being performed, this could include animal welfare, or ecological concerns, or equity and access. Again, those are just a few examples among many. We've included sources of bioethics involving genetic engineering in our description. If the field of genetic engineering interests you, just know that the career of a genetic engineer is a career that is expected to keep on growing. Well, that's it for the Amoeba Sisters, and we remind you to stay curious.
All right. So let me ask you, do you like it? You like the video? Yes, it was interesting for Carlos. What about the others? Yeah, so a lot of information,
Yeah,
obviously.
it's, it is benefit in genetic engineering, but genetic engineering has solved many problems. But the
Mm-hmm.
risk is that many people call use for political, ideological purpose and develop chemical weapons against certain ethnic groups. A
Mm-hmm.
genetic engineer can design virus that harm humans. Is still unclear what happened with the COVID virus.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so that's a very
Ideally, most controlled.
mm-hmm. All right, Omar, that's a very strong position about genetic engineering. Yeah, I think that we're going to have possibility to talk about it. So here we have our test about the topic genetic engineering. I think that we already have at least common knowledge about it. And the idea is that we're going to practice pronunciation. So, uh, Andre Narvaez, could you please read the first paragraph?
Hello, teacher. Good morning.
Good
Yes.
morning.
Okay, the first paragraph.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, by Nanety Mikulski. One question that is being debated this day is whether or not genetic engineering is a good thing. Nanety Mikulski, our science editor, has contributed this article to help our readers become more informed on the use.
Okay, thanks so much. So, Carlos Patiño, could you please keep on reading this next paragraph?
So sorry, I was in mute. We're hearing this term, genetic engineering, with increasing frequency these days. For those readers who may not be sure of its meaning, some definition follow. When we speak of genes, we are referring to chemical substance in the cells of living things that establish in an organism characteristics.
Okay, thank you so much. Daniela Suarez, could you please continue with this paragraph, genetic engineering?
Genetic engineering is the changing of certain genes, usually to improve an organism in some way. In recent years, for example, certain genes have been placed in tomato plants to make tomatoes taste better and keep them fresh in supermarkets for a longer time. Cows have been treated with a growth hormone that makes dairy cattle give more milk and reduce the amount of fat in the meat of beef cattle.
Okay, thank you. Jennifer, could you please continue with next paragraph? These sound like,
They sound like possible things, don't they? After all, many people say the technology exists to improve your life. Will shows their technology by using their the usual is not so simple. However, they are tablets or people around option genetic induced engineer weird.
okay, thanks. And here, Juan Guillermo, could you please, two specific objections?
Okay, two specific objections come to mind. One is that the balance of nature might be upset. Suppose, for example, that scientists are able to genetically engineer certain plants so that insects will not eat them. This will protect the plants, but the insects will be depri- the deprived
Mm-hmm.
of a food supply, and another animals that depend on those insects for food will lose their food supply.
Okay, thanks so much. So, Julian, could you please finish a second objection?
Yes, teacher. A second objection is a moral question. Is it acceptable or right for use to change the makeup of living thing? Supporter of genetic engineering say the benefits outweigh the dangers. Look at all the improvements that can be made in plant raised for food. They say because of genetic engineering plants can be grown that produce more fruit, vegetables and resist disease. In a world where more and more food will be needed in the future, this is a benefit.
Okay,
The,
yeah, that's it. Thanks, Julian.
uh,
So, Kevin, could you please read the medical advantages?
The medical advantages provided by genetic engineering, say to the supporters, are even more impressive. Consider cancer, for example. If genetic engineering can provide a way to cure or prevent this disease, shouldn't it be used? As if genetic engineering can be used to kill the virus that causes AIDS, shouldn't it be permitted? Opponents of genetic engineering said it should be stopped, at least limited. Proponents of genetic engineering say it should be promoted and expanded. The debate goes on.
Okay, Kevin, thanks so much. So, I'm going to read one more time. Please pay attention. And then we're going to continue with the questions proposed in this activity. Genetic Engineering, Forward or Backward by Nanette Mikulski. One question that is being debated these days is whether or not genetic engineering is a good thing. Nanette Mikulski, our science editor, has contributed this article to help our readers become more informed on the issue. We're hearing this term, genetic engineering, with increasing frequency these days. For those readers who may not be sure of its meaning, some definitions follow. When we speak of genes, we are referring to chemical substances in the cells of all living things that establish an organism's characteristics. Genetic engineering is the changing of certain genes, usually to improve an organism in some way. In recent years, for example, certain genes have been placed in tomato plants to make tomatoes taste better and keep them fresh in supermarkets for a longer time. Cows have been treated with a growth hormone that makes dairy cattle give more milk and reduces the amount of fat in the meat of beef cattle. These sound like positive things, don't they? After all, many people say the technology exists to improve our lives. Why shouldn't this technology be used? Perhaps the issue isn't so simple. However, there are plenty of people around who oppose genetic engineering. Why? Two specific objections come to mind. One is that the balance of nature might be upset. Suppose, for example, that scientists are able to genetically engineer certain plants so that insects would not eat them. This would protect the plants, but the insects would be deprived of food supply. And other animals that depend on those insects for food will lose their food supply too. A second objection is a modern question. Is it acceptable or right for us to change the makeup of living things? Supporters of genetic engineering say the benefits outweigh the dangers. Look at all the improvements that can be made in plants raised for food, they say. Because of genetic engineering, plants can be grown, then produce more fruits and vegetables and resist disease. In a world where more and more food will be needed in the future, this is a benefit. The medical advantages provided by genetic engineering, say the supporters, are even more impressive. Consider cancer, for example. If genetic engineering can provide a way to cure or prevent this disease, shouldn't it be used? And if genetic engineering can be used to kill the virus that causes AIDS, shouldn't it be permitted? Opponents of genetic engineering said it should be stopped, or at least limited. Proponents of genetic engineering said it should be promoted and expanded. The debate goes on. Okay? So, based on this, let's try to answer these questions together. Number one, this is a understanding meaningful contest exercise. Circle the choice closest in meaning to each underlying word or phrase. So, number one, the better option for cattle is cows, stores, or products. Hmm?
A, cows, teacher.
Yes. Cattle means ganado, so in that case, it's cows. Yeah, that's it. So it's A. What about number two? One objection is that the balance of nature might be upset. Be upset is A, B, or C.
B.
B.
B, teacher.
Okay. Three will be deprived of, will have, will want, will not have.
C,
Yes, you're right.
not aliment.
Uh-huh. Supporters of genetic, A, B, or C?
C.
Mm,
People who are in favor.
C, teacher.
Uh-huh. And 5, opponents of genetic engineering. Yeah,
B.
B.
very
Mm,
simple,
B,
right?
B, B, 5B.
Yes. So
Ah,
very easy. However, here I have a little more demanding quiz. This is just a general quiz about the topic. To be honest, I don't have idea about it. However, I tried. And I'm going to give you 5 minutes just in order that you take this quiz, which is compounded by 15 questions related to genetic engineering topic. Okay? Are the instructions clear? It's clear what we have to do? Yes, no,
yes.
yeah. All right. So let's do it and let me know how good you did or how good you do. All right. So let's do it. So, Carlos, oh man, good results. What are you studying at university? What engineering? Yeah, really? So, good score. Oh, Kevin, great. And what engineering are you studying? Ah, okay. That's why, Carlos. You already know about the topic. Oh, Kevin, great. Computer science. So you're doing two at the same time? Three. Wow, man, really? How you doing that? Uh-huh. The War Mosquito program. Perks of working from home. Okay, man, but you really need time and a big attitude. Yeah. Oh, Carlos, thanks for sharing that information. All right, and what about the others? Daniela? Okay, Daniela, Julian, Jennifer. All right. Yeah, so better results than mine, to be honest. However, I found it very interesting, right? Because obviously we have two different sides of the controversy. The first one, well, able to provide food, chemicals, industry in general, some medicines, right? With better results, but we don't know really how they're going to affect human bodies or animal health. And from the other point of view, we also have to be aware that there are some restrictions in our world that if we modify them, other species are going to be in danger. I don't know what you think about it, guys. What's your point of view? Hmm? Do you think that it's possible to provide genetic engineering programs without affecting other species? Is sure, it's not sure. This is going to destroy our human species. What's your personal point of view? Hmm? Any volunteer? Nobody? Really? For example, Andres, what do you think about it?
Teacher, can you repeat me the question? Is
Yeah,
half of the
what's your personal opinion? What's your opinion about this topic? Do you think that is a positive or negative aspect? Why? Is there any solution to find out?
yes, teacher. I believe that is so good for the human, for we can use the um, genetic engineer for can a solution very problems that we have in the actuality. And one a problem the is the heal in the children. because so many children born with um, with a sick, no sé, enfermedad.
Yeah,
We born,
they
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 born,
born sick. Uh-huh.
they
They
born
born sick.
sick, and the genetic engineering can be a best way for find a solution in this topic. No?
Mm-hmm.
And another topic we that the genetic engineer can find a solution is in the is in the in is a find a way to the plants and the nature for can do a major productive
Mm-hmm.
for but is we have a problem with this because the insect like we say in the text the insect no have um, no have it or um, so many species can die because no have um, um, no have a food we can
Mm-hmm.
see.
Yeah, they don't eat.
Mm, mm,
No,
this is a topic.
they're not able to, or they are deprived to eat. Yes, also.
Yes, teacher. Mm, I think I believe that is a good technology, but we have many restriction for the engineering.
Mm-hmm.
And
All right. Thanks, man.
yes,
Wow.
so
Yeah, yeah. Very interesting position. So, Julian, what do you think?
Yes, teacher. My opinion personal.
Yes.
Uh, the selection of specific characteristics is different from genetic engineering. The first is the select most productive animals over long period. For example, the cow that produces the most milk is select for offspring. On the contrary, genetic engineering is adding genes from one living being to another. Um, for example, a goat that produces spider silk in the milk.
Mm-hmm.
This is dangerous um, because when applied to humans, it will create superhumans.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, um, can afford their treatment. For example, um, have salamander genes to regenerate an arm or be immortal like, how do you say Medusa?
Medius. Uh,
Jellyfish?
yeah,
Jellyfish?
jellyfish, but jellyfish is in the sea, right?
Ajá.
Es lo que llamamos el agua mala. Uh,
Sí. Entonces,
yeah,
um,
jellyfish. I don't know.
ah, bueno, se pueden inyectar de esos genes y volverse inmortales.
Really? All right. So
Sí.
they're going to live for a long time? Yes. Okay. Very interesting. Salamander, spider, and jellyfish.
Ujú.
Wow. Okay. Any other idea, position about it?
Yes,
Something you
sir.
just want to mention? Yeah? Tell me.
Yes, like I said before in the chat, I consider that the genetic engineering is very useful in the current world.
Mm-hmm.
And have consider, I have, in my personal opinion, there are three wide groups where the genetic engineering could contribute. That is the medicine, agriculture, and environment. because in the fight to control the starving the world,
Mhm.
it's necessary the transgenic or the modification of the seeds because every day we need to improve the crops or the food production. So
Mhm.
I'm I feel comfortable with the this area with this group in the agriculture.
Mhm.
In the medicine, there are several controversies, ethical controversies about the genetic manipulation or genetic modification. I don't know what is the correct word for this or the correct
Mhm.
term, because this involves human lives and could be uh, running in the border of the ethical or the good or the bad. But it's something, it's a moral discussion. It's different. But I consider that is one advance in the science, the
Mhm.
genetic. Yeah,
But your personal professional advice as a chemistry engineer
yes, sir.
uh, is that there is no big deal about consuming those modified crops, for
Oh, yes, sir.
example.
Yes, sir. I don't have. Mm, we have the two faces of the coin.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, the bad face that is where the some transgenic food or transgenic I don't know what is the correct name
Yeah,
aliments
yeah,
food.
no food, transgenic food.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
transgenic food is could produce or could induce the human body or the organs to produce other hormones or to secrete different like insulin. Like the transgenic in a specific case with the one seed corn seed corn
Mm-hmm.
maíz, semilla de maíz, corn
Yeah,
seed.
yeah. Seeds.
Uh, yeah, that increase the production of insulin and could affect the liver.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, yeah, in this case is discutable and uh, is this is the point where it is not helping to solve issues in the humanity. But in other cases, for example, the production of potatoes in the world have been increased, and we can supply the needs of the potatoes in the world because the seeds have been modified, and we can produce currently around 60 tons of potatoes for I don't know how to say hectare.
Yeah, clear.
Yes, yeah, okay, hectare for hectare. That is a good production. It's good production.
Mm-hmm.
Near to, close to us, the Union, Sonson, uh, we have productions or crops with similar or similar values of production. We're
Mm-hmm.
producing close to uh, 57, 55 tons per hectare of production
Mm-hmm.
of potato.
Okay, that's great, man. So we improve not only quality but also the quantity of production, right? By using this kind of engineering. This is what you are proposing.
Are you talking to me? Sorry.
Yeah, yes, Carlos, that
Oh,
you,
okay. So, okay. So,
yeah.
nah, the purpose is to produce. In this case, in the specific case of the potato crops, is to produce one one product with more quality and a big amount or increase the amount of production. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
because every day we had less space to crops to have crops so we need to produce more because we have a lot
Yeah,
of
yeah,
people birding every day or board every day. This is the purpose. But
okay.
in the animal or the corals is something that is very common. There is one breed of coral named the blue Belgian.
Mm-hmm.
It's very interesting. Please look one information about the blue Belgian. That is a breed of cattle that is big muscle.
Okay, yeah.
But Marcel, it's something weird about the big muscle in the coast.
All right. Yeah, that sounds very interesting. So, Carlos, thanks so much. Is there somebody else who wants to mention or to talk about this? No? That's it? Okay. Just in order to have more elements about this topic, here we have a listening exercise. This is going to be a little more demanding than the previous that we have in this course because this is B2. B2 means upper and intermediate. And for this, we're going to see the video and then to pick up the correct option. For this activity, we're going to have 7 minutes. What's the idea? Just listen no more than twice, okay? Let me ask you, are the instructions clear? Is clear what we have to do? Yes, no? It is. It is for Andrew. And what about the others? Yes? All right. So let's listen up. Let's listen up and let me know the results. Okay, Julian, Andrew, Jennifer. What about the others? Oh man. So, Carlos, very good. What about the others? Okay, Daniela. There you have. All right, good results. Okay, now here we have this last activity, which is about personality and health, right? And the idea is that we're going to read and then carry out the activity. Okay, so Omar, will you please read the first paragraph? The first part of the paragraph. Omar? No? So, uh, Andre Narvaez.
Teacher, personality and health. There is increasing evidence that health is linked to personality. However, until now, the relationship has not affected the way health care is delivered. There are several reasons for this. Some health workers delve whether there is direct link between health and personality or whether whether is just a coincidence.
Okay, thank you. So, Aida, could you please read it? Aida Núñez. Aida. Ok, chicos, la idea no es conectarse e irse. Yo no necesito que conecten. Si se conectan es porque quieren participar.
Aimee,
Ok, Omar, go ahead.
Uh, some feel it is their professional duty to treat a patient in the same way. Others are weak that developing health service according to patients. Personality will have minimal impact and therefore isn't worth the effort. However, some psychologists believe that applying different procedures to people with different personalities could have a significant positive effect on health.
Okay, thanks so much. So, here we have personality and health. There is increasing evidence that health is linked to personality. However, until now, the relationship has not affected the way healthcare is delivered. There are several reasons for this. Some health workers doubt whether there is a direct link between health and personality or whether it's just a coincidence. Some feel it's their professional duty to treat all patients in the same way. Others argue that delivering health services according to patients' personality would have minimal impact and there isn't worth the effort. However, some psychologists believe that applying different procedures to people with different personalities could have a significant positive effect on health. Okay? Here, Daniela, please continue research.
Research into personality has, in recent years, focused on the Big Five model of personality types. This model measures how neurotic, extrovert, open to experience, agreeable, and conscientious a person is. Some of these personality types have been studied in relation to health.
Thank you. So, Jennifer, for example.
For example, conscious people tend to be less liable to smoke, drink too much alcohol, or be inhaled. However, or in claims, the relation is less clear. Neurotic behavior, for extent, has been found in some studies to increase the rings order in order prior people for illness and in others have to live to her at
Okay, thank you so much. Research into personality has in recent years focused on the Big Five model of personality types. This model measures how neurotic, extrovert, open to experience, agreeable, and conscientious a person is. Some of these personality types have been studied in relation to health. For example, conscientious people tend to be less likely to smoke, drink too much alcohol, or be inactive. However, in other cases, the relationship is less clear. Neural behavior, for instance, has been found in some studies to increase the risk of death. In others, to protect people from illness, and in others, to have no link to health at all. Okay? Well, very interesting the part, to be honest. Here, probably this part. Juan Guillermo, can you please read this? Even so,
Okay. Even so, if health workers apply on understanding of personality to be service they provide, to the service they provide, they could influence the extent to which patients act on advice and follow their treatment. For example, high sensation seeking, sensation seeking individuals who are extroverts and unconscientious in the Big Five model and tend to take part in risky activities, respond to drama, energy, and emotion. Thus, to encourage those people to follow health advice, health promotions can be designed to incorporate two factors.
okay, thank you. Kevin, could you please read an example?
Hey, excuse me.
Yep.
An example of this was the campaign Centaur, which aimed to reduce cannabis use among high sensation-seeking teenagers. By creating a suitable television advert, they successfully engaged these youth and reduce their recreational drug use. Of course, this approach isn't always possible. It is often impractical, and expensive to create several versions of a campaign to reach different personality types. However, recent developments in computer technology, cookies, and target Target advertising may allow this approach to be used more in future.
Okay, thanks so much. So here we have. Even so, if health workers applied an understanding of personality to the service they provide, they could influence the extent to which patients act on, advise, and follow their treatment. For example, high sensation seeking individuals who are extroverts and unconscious in the Big Five model and tend to take part in risky activities, respond to drama, energy, and emotion. Thus, to encourage those people to follow advice, health promotions can be designed to incorporate those factors. An example of this was the campaign Centaur, which aimed to reduce cannabis use among high sensation seeking teenagers by creating a suitable television advert. They successfully engaged these shows and reduce their recreational drug use. Of course, this approach isn't always possible. It's often impractical and expensive to create several versions of a campaign to reach different personality types. However, recent developments in computer technology, cookies, and targeted advertising may allow this approach to be used more in future. Okay, here we have. Okay, rolling here. Julian, could you please read
Yes,
this?
sir. Personality could also be considered when sending message, information, and guidance to specific patients. Already held information is usually available in various forms: printed, digital, audio, and so on, to be suitable and accessible for different use, such as the blind, the elderly, and people with reading difficulties.
Okay, thank you so much. Uh, Omar, could you please read this research?
Uh, un poco, fue a big screen teacher.
Yeah, research has also shown.
Resist, okay. Research has also shown that by identify different patterns, motivation for uh, teacher is
Treatment.
uh, please beat screen.
Bigger is not possible, but
Okay.
here you can use the link if you
Okay.
want. Okay, in the
Uh,
meantime,
Research has also shown that by identifying different patients' motivation for treatment and then corresponding which in a way that reflects their motivation. Patients will become more involved in their treatment compared to when the same messages are sent to everyone. Corresponds code therefore be adapted to reflect a patient personality type 2.
all right, thanks.
Okay.
So, Daniela, could you please read this part?
For example, less conscientious people could be sent phone reminders to attend appointments. So far, there has been very little research into the effectiveness of tailoring health guidance according to personality, so this area deserves further study.
Okay, thank you. So personality could also be considered when sending messages, information, and guidance to specific patients. Already, health information is usually available in various forms, printed, digital, audio, and so on, to be suitable and accessible for different users, such as the blind, the elderly, and people with reading difficulties. Research has also shown that by identifying different patients' motivations for treatment and then corresponding with them in a way that reflects their motivations, patients will become more involved in their treatment compared to when the same messages are sent to everyone. Correspondence could therefore be adapted to reflect patients' personality type too. For example, less conscious people could be sent phone reminders to attend appointments. So far, there has been very little research into the effectiveness of tailoring health guidance according to personality, so this area deserves further study. And finally, here, Kevin, could you please read this until now?
Until now, the focus of personality health research has been to explore the link between personality and health and has had very little practical application. Thus, health workers have not engaged deeply with it. However, by suggesting it, trialing, and implementing practices to engage patients with different personalities. The relationship between psychology researchers and health workers could improve, along with the health of general public.
Okay, thank you. Until now, the focus of personality health research had been explored, the link between personality and health, and has had very little practical application. Thus, health workers have not engaged deeply with it. However, by suggesting trialing and implementing practices to engage patients with different personalities, the relationship between psychology researchers and health workers could improve along with the health of the general public. Okay, then this is a little more extensive reading, and it is that here we have 8 different questions. All right, for this activity, I propose that we're going to have 7 minutes in order that you read it, okay, and answer, and then let me know the results. Let me ask you, are the instructions clear? Is clear what we have to do, ladies and gentlemen? Yes, no?
The link, teacher,
Ah, I haven't given the link? Okay.
please.
All right, yeah, of course. Here we have B2. There you have. Yes, of course. So sorry. Okay.
Thank you, teacher.
All right. So let's do it. Let's do it. Okay, guys. So, Carlos, pretty good, man. Congratulations. What about the others? Okay, Julian. And the others? What about the others? One more. Okay. Daniela. There you have. Okay, guys. So let me ask you, do you have any question about today's activities? Questions about the different activities that we did today? No? All right, next class, we're going to keep on practicing speaking based on this listening exercise, this track. So I invite you to listen carefully and obviously be ready to talk about it. Yes? And thank you so much for your participation and see us on Friday. So, bye-bye and take care.
Thank you,
Thank you.
teacher.
Have a good day, teacher.
Good
Bye bye.
Say bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye,
Bye-bye.
teacher.